Bonjour, bonjour all. I am here in front of Notre Dame, of course. I don't think she really needs much of an introduction, but here she is. It's early in the morning. Best time to come over here and see her. I kind of wish there was a little bit more blue skies, but you know, take what we get. So, as you can see right there, this is high above in these bleachers that they built a couple years ago, 2 years ago, I believe. And early in the morning, it's really great because you can come up here. It's only a handful of people. Look, we can see. Wish we could see right inside the door. But you see all that work going on down there? It's very exciting because that part in front of Notre Dame here in the forecourt is going to be open soon. So once again, we are going to be able to get a little bit closer. So it's supposed to be open this summer. Technically, we're a week into summer, so let's get going. But I'm so excited because the Point Zero is over there. And if you don't know, that's a little brass marker that they used to measure all points around France from. That was basically the center. They don't do that anymore. But I love that thing, and my grandparents used to come as well. And the thing is that you stand on that, you spin around 3 times and clockwise, and that means that you will come back to Paris. And so it used to be one thing I would do every single time. The other thing is you bury 3 coins into the earth, and that also helps solidify the fact that you will come back. And I used to do that all the time. But since 2019, you can't, we haven't been able to see the marker, but hopefully soon we'll be able to get a little closer. They've changed the fencing on the side, which I'll walk around and show you. So at least as of last week, they had removed all of the amazing images and they've made it a lot smaller. You can see down there kind of where the creamy color fence ends. That used to be the wall, so now it's pushed out a lot farther. So hopefully that means they're taking it down. All good things. So, but look, they're working away. I love coming early in the morning too because you could hear all of the work going on. And so that's kind of fun. But I can't wait to walk around. I just got here and just pushed record. So I haven't even seen the roof on the side. So I'm going to see it with you. And more of it is revealed. And I am so excited. I can't wait. But from up here, you could see the Hotel-Dieu. And I used to sneak in there. It wasn't really sneaking. Everybody did it. But there is the center door right there. But there's a blue door over on the right, and that blue door used to be able just to push it in and then go in there on either side and walk all the way up. It's better to go here on the left side because you could go in there and go up to this little balcony you kind of see up there, the little upper terrace, and you could look back and get this amazing view of Notre Dame. After the fire, about a year after the fire, they really kind of started clamping down on that and didn't really want people up there. But hopefully they'll let you in again because in the Hotel-Dieu, which is the oldest hospital in Europe, this version of it is 19th century, but the original was 7th century, and it used to stretch all the way across the forecourt here. There was buildings over here, all the way over there to the left bank, and coming on this side. And so there was 3 fires over time. In the 19th century, they built this version. It's really mostly just like an emergency hospital. They don't have people that stay in there, so you're not admitted. But you can, I don't know if they still do this, but there was a time that you could actually rent a room there. Now, as I said, I've snuck in there, gone up to the terrace a few times. It's creepy. It is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It looks like it's in the 60s, and it's all Formica, but it's like really quiet, and you just hear a few noises here and there, but you don't ever see a single person. It's really kind of creepy. But the exciting thing is, and this has been talked about since before the Olympics. Oh, wait a minute. Zoom in. Hello, guys. Good morning. Always have to break in the action when we see them. Those are the firemen of Paris. If you did not know, if you follow me, you know. And this is another beautiful thing about the mornings, is the sight of the firemen. But back to the Hotel-Dieu. So the Hotel-Dieu is going to become, they're going to put a over 90,000 square foot museum in there. 9,000. one of those two. And it is going to go in there, and it is going to be massive, and it's going to be a museum dedicated to Notre Dame. So it is going to be fantastic. I'm hoping that a lot of those pieces are at the Architecture Museum now, some of which are gone. Of course, they've removed the big statues because they'll be back on the roof soon. But some of the other stuff that's in there, like the rooster that was on the spire, all those things are going to come back, and they're going to put them in there. They're also going to be putting in there the stained glass windows. So inside, they're going to replace 6 stained glass windows on the south side here on the right of the church, and they're going to replace those with contemporary windows. And a lot of people are upset about this, including me. Just leave it the way it is. But the windows they will take out, they'll put in the museum, and this is years away. This is a couple years away. They've the call for the artists, I think, has finished, so they will start to decide what they're going to do. But those contemporary windows will go in, and they want them to reflect, oh, hello, madame. They will reflect the story of Notre Dame over the last, 5 years and even longer. But there was some windows that were put in here in 1938. They only lasted a year, and then they took them out because they were done by 16 different artists. They were cubist in detail, and people hated them, so they had them removed. They are rarely ever seen. They are on display right now in Troyes, which is in the Champagne region, and so I was, maybe I'll have to go down there and check those out. But those, I would imagine, will come to the museum too. So it would be absolutely fantastic what they will do and have there in the museum. So I can't wait. But it has been a talk since before the fire. So hopefully that means it's not that far away. I haven't started construction or done anything, but most likely after we get through the summer. And hopefully it'll be open in the next year or two. That would be amazing. But of course you can see some things at the Cluny Museum, not far from here, where you can see some of those heads of the kings of Judah and statuary. And then of course the Architecture Museum has some pieces. So it's kind of, scattered all over the place. But it's going to be fantastic. So it's so cool to see that. But oh, look there's a little guy way up there. So they're still working on the North Tower. The bells will be back soon on the North Tower. The bells of the South Tower, were not removed, where it is Emmanuel and Marie. Those remained in there because the North Tower removed because it did have a little bit of fire damage. So they had to remove those, and two of the bells needed to have some restoration work. The rest of them just were cleaned. But I love that like the police and everybody is. And this morning when I was walking over here, there was a runner. She was French, 2 ladies, and they stopped to take pictures. I just love that. I love that it's not just the tourists that stop and take pictures of all these things. It's even the people that live here. They really love their heritage. All of those, whatever you would call those containers, they have the doors open, so maybe they're getting ready to get rid of that stuff too. So very exciting. We're only 5 months. It'll be July 8th. It'll be 5 months, and then we'll be back into this baby. I cannot wait. But they also announced recently that one of my favorites, Jean-Charles de Cassavajac, he is designing the robes that the priests and the canons and the archbishop will wear for the opening ceremonies that they will have here, mass, and then they will also wear those on special events. He did the robes for when the Pope came in 1995, I believe. So it's very exciting. But Jean-Charles de Cassavajac is the one that does all the chalk angels around the city that if you follow me, you know that I love. But I'm going to head down from here and head around the church and see what else we could find. Oh, look at that. I sometimes just love to come here and just sit and look at all the cranes and what they're taking on and off of the roof and putting up there. But I can't wait to go see the roof line because more of it's revealed, and I'll share it with you. But we will go down there too because you see all of this fence here. They have been changing these things out, and so about twice a year. So they've added all of these photos, and they are all the people that are working on it. There is about 850 people working every single day on Notre Dame, and they have created these photographs that are kind of funny. I don't know if they have senior portraits in France like we did in America. I don't even know if they do the same kind of things, but when I was in high school, they were always, some of them were really bizarre, and that's what these look like. But my love, Philippe Villeneuve, is down there, so I'll go down there and show you some of them. But it is, I love that they put a face to the people that are working on this and give their stories. It's in the paper all the time, different stories of like restorers, and a lot of them are young. A lot of them are in their 20s. So it's really amazing. One other fun little thing is recently I read a story about when this forecourt first was put in after the fire. They had a massive tent, structural tent down there. And in that tent, they were pulling out every piece of stone, piece of wood, everything that had been burnt or destroyed or had fallen, and they saved every single thing. They cataloged it. If they are able to reuse it, they will. Obviously, the burnt pieces from the roof, they can't. But it was over 10,000 pieces of wood. There was over 850 pallets of stone and 400 pallets of metal that fell. Took 2 years for these people to sort through it, and the people working on it said that it was just this really monotonous and sometimes mind-numbing job, but they would not have changed it for anything in the world, and how amazing it was to be a part of that. It's all been put off to another site, saved, and so I'm sure some of those pieces we will see over just right across the way. And I'll show you this. There's some pieces of Notre Dame when Viollet-le-Duc restored it over there. Now, if only one of these things on the cathedral, one of these statues, Philippe put his face, just like Viollet-le-Duc did, but I don't think he'll do that. But he should, because generations from now we'll talk about Philippe, well, like I do now, but like most historians talk about Viollet-le-Duc. He did it. Philippe isn't going in and changing and adding things like Viollet-le-Duc did, but what Philippe is doing is he is taking and honoring what Viollet and the other architects that came before him did, and creating that and bringing that back to life. We don't know the name of the first architect that built it under Sully. Well, they did a damn good job, didn't they? All right, I'm gonna go head down there and I'll show you Philippe closer now. So here are all of the photos. And here's some of the important people that are part of this. Philippe, this Philippe, not my Philippe. This Philippe is the one that is the president of as it says, public establishment of the rebuilding of Notre Dame. He is the one that directly works with the government and to Macron. That was previously held by the general. Oh my gosh, the ground just literally moved. And he's the one that tragically died in an accident last year. There he is. So if you could see on his arm, he has the spire tattooed on his arm, and also the rose window. But it's really great. So you have scheduling, coordination manager. She should definitely be up there. That's got to be a job. Carpenters. The Archbishop is up on here, back a little ways. But some of them are just really funny. I mean, I love them, but it's kind of like, oh, I'm gonna take my photo with my walkie-talkie. Head architect for the historic monuments. There's, when Philippe took this over, he said he couldn't do this on his own, so he has 2 others, including Pascal. So it's a team of 3, but Philippe is the main guy, because he was in charge of Notre Dame since 2013. That's Julian. But like, look at this guy. He's in charge of... I think it's just funny. Amazing. I love this though. And I love that they have their face on here. How exciting is that? Head architect's Remy. He's the other one that you see sometimes on TV, at least here. Look at all these sculptors that are doing all the work. metal worker. This is pretty cool, head sculptor. But it is great. I love it. I love that they do this. I love they have this on here. I don't know if they'll change it again. I mean, because it's usually every 6 months or so, and 5 months from now. Painting restores. I love these. Look at all ladies except for that one guy. How great is that? But these ladies were the ones working in the chapels of the church. Look at her. I love her. Look, she's like, I'm wearing my lipstick and I have my makeup. And then this guy, the lifting equipment manager, he got dressed up for it. Love it. Department of Heritage and Architecture. Where did I think I went back. The ground keeps moving. They're really moving around some big stuff back there. Stained glass artist. Isn't it amazing? Love it. So you can see, this is the time to come. It's about 8:45 in the morning, 8:30. It is the time to come down here. In about an hour or two, it will fill up with tons and tons of people. Here's inside. And look at how beautiful and white it is. Everything is done on the inside now. They are completely finished. One thing they are doing though is they will bring in, it is completed, but because they had to rip apart the transept underneath it, they have also added in state-of-the-art wiring, electrical, ventilation. It's also going to be the very first church in all of France that's going to have a water misting system in the attic. Good thing. And they've also added in, we'll see if we can still see them, but they've added in up near the spire in the roof. They've done what they call a fire stop, and it's about probably about 6 feet of 6 feet of metal that's in there, like the rafters, and so hopefully it will halt if there's a fire up there. But everything on the inside is done. But the transept, underneath the transept, the floor, where you see that black and white tiles, for the floor itself, where underneath the altar, that's all been rebuilt, and so they built that, and it's a massive system underneath it of metal barring, and then they will lay on top of that, and they've already created this off-site. They'll bring it in near Orleans. They'll bring it into Paris and put it together in during the end of the summer. But it will then have like the steps and the marble altar piece will then go on top of that. But that's all been redone too. So a lot of the stuff in here is going to be brand spanking new and shiny and gorgeous. So let's head over around the corner and see what else we find. So here, some of these images are new. I love this. Those were the really high windows at the very top. Right after the fire, they had those removed because they were closest to the heat and the flames, so they took those out. Not sure if this trying to drive over here. Policeman. All that working away. Another really cool thing was, I hope maybe they have a picture. So in the very center of the transept, up above the altar, is basically the keystone, so the center of the church. That recently, because that had completely broken and fallen, they have a piece of that in the museum that's downstairs. Oh, I should take you in there too. They have that downstairs, and they just finished completely rebuilding it, restoring it, but in the middle of the keystone was a canvas designed by Viollet-le-Duc. They had that beautiful kind of Persian blue background like you see on the roof of, in the ceiling of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. And they had replaced that this week. So it was designed by Viollet-le-Duc, and that is back. So it was kind of one of the last pieces that they did here. So here we have the north window up at the very top there. Let's zoom in. Up at the very top there, you have Saint-Denis, and he's looking north towards the Basilique in his name, where he, walked with his head for a couple kilometers and then fell to his death. But all of that had to be rebuilt. So all of that, the statues, everything, it was just in pretty bad shape even before the fire. And there's our beautiful spire and the rooster. It's really the south side that you get to really see everything. So here, this is a great example of the roof. And there is a QR code, and the QR code, you could get a lot of this, especially these kind of generated descriptions of everything. You could get these, scan the QR code and then look them up online, which is kind of fun. But this is about the building of the spire and the roof, and you'll see on the roof definitely see where it's wider. The pieces are wider, and then where the pieces are kind of more narrow. With different parts of the roof, parts was 12th century, parts was 13th century. So because they have to build it exactly the way that it was, it has to be rebuilt exactly that way. So what they are doing is some of these pieces actually look different. These pieces here on the end, you can see here where there's a lot more cross beams, and then you have the pieces that are closer to the front on this side where there's less. The big huge fire stops they put in are right in here, and so the other day the roof hadn't been, the lead hadn't been put on this, so we could see if we could see them. But because they have to build it exactly the way it was, they have to do that exactly the way it was from the 12th or the 13th century. They also had special axes made that I talked about before, but I love the story so much you could hear it again if you haven't. And so these axes you see where people are using, those were made just for the project. They had two different ones created, and again, basically for the 12th or the 13th century. And the marks that are on it, it will leave the same exact marks on the wood as it did in the 12th and 13th century. So you can see that older picture. Obviously, that's not as old as the 12th century, but, and here's when the spire was all covered up. Oh, so amazing. I'm so glad I was able to see that. And what's really great is all of this stuff, it was, built off-site. So they built it off-site and then dropped it in here. Here's a good better look at the south, or north, rose window. Really is amazing that none of these were damaged. None of the stained glass, period, were damaged. So that noise you're hearing is, can you hear the pipes? That's the scaffolding coming apart. The restoration of the spire. But see, all of the pieces of the lead that's on here were done all off-site. So that's what this picture is showing you. So they molded it, did everything, and then they ship it up here and then attach it. It's the top of the spire before they drop the cross on it. Here is the fire stop. So see where it's that metal? So those are the fire stop trusses that they are adding in there. So hopefully, pretty clever name there, fire stop, and you can see them here. But yeah, the misting system in here. They also built a they put in a monitor 24 hours a day. Very, very highly technological fire system that's going to monitor everything. Here's the 22, see it says 22 paintings of and 13 of them are the May. This week on the podcast I did a part 1 of about the amazing paintings of Notre Dame. And then Monday will be part 2, where I really go into the process of restoration. It's fascinating how they did that. But this is just kind of fun. The 8,000 pipes of the organ, those are back in, but that'll be the last thing they will do. They will tune that the last week. All of the wood choir done by Viollet-le-Duc is cleaned and restored. And all of the statuary is clean. There's a lot of the treasures taken out. Look at that. The treasury that's there has all been cleaned, which really needed it ahead of time. That was on the list of things that they needed to restore. Let's go down here a little bit. I'll turn around and show you. Look at how great this is with all of the tile work on here. This whole area was owned by the church, Catholic Church at one time. And then Eloise and Abelard lived really close to here when she was here living with her uncle, and then they had their sordid affair. But that was because the canons were here, the priests, everybody was here studying. And a lot of this is still owned by the Catholic Church. So the one downside of coming here early in the morning, lack of people, but lots of trucks. So I keep almost getting run over. So look at that. This scaffolding probably will not come down for a while, but I don't know, maybe it will, because all of this, hopefully maybe this will come down. The scaffolding from the roof will be down within the next few weeks, because it's coming down before the Olympics, and we are 3 weeks out from the time we'll see this. But here's all of look at that, sculptors working on foam copies of our carving, the sculptures from new, because they have to do everything the way that it was done originally. So here are the new pieces of the furniture. So you have the altar and the holy water font. I don't know, I'm not sold on these chairs, but this is what I was talking about. So this massive piece of flooring, you have the steps, it's all marble, and so it's really incredibly heavy, but there is a whole structure underneath that's holding it up together, and that'll come, that's all finished. As I was saying, will be replaced and repaired and brought in here and moved up to Paris. And that is the new altar. And there is one of the maze. And this is, I just talked about this painting on the podcast. You can listen to more of it. Here is, this painting right here is the only one that has the Holy Spirit in it. You see the bird. So it's the only one of the La Maze. 76 paintings created from 1630 to 1707. There was 2 years there they did not do them because of money, and that is underneath the center transept. So that is underneath the altar, and that is what is getting done. But I love this. I love how they update this. But I'll put the link to that on my Patreon, so you guys could click on it. You can get it in just about every language, and it kind of gives you can look on that. I love that this guy has his hard hat. He comes to work in his blazer. I love France. Gotta love it. I wonder what they're gonna bring up here. All right, we're gonna go head down to the other side and check it out, see what else we find, and get a amazing view. Oh, the police motorcycle, their garages here on the island. It's also the place where there was the barber, and he was friends with the baker next door. And so the barber you'd have these young students from the university and also from the studying to be a priest, and they would come in there and they would never leave because the barber would kill them, drop them down into the floor, kill them, chop them up, and give it to the baker, and he would make these pies, meat pies. So disgusting, but that's right there. And supposedly this stone where he would chop them up is still there inside, but nobody could go in there because it is the police department, and of course they're not going to answer that. But I know, morbid story, but it is the original Sweeney Todd. So here on the island, you have the original Sweeney Todd and the original Romeo and Juliet, meaning Eloise and Abelard. Oh, here's more. All of the bridges eventually are going to start shutting around the 17th or 18th of this month, except for far down. And you have a lot of these fences up everywhere, which, you know, isn't great, but you just deal with it. And there's a lot of people that Instagrammers or influencers, whatever you want to call them, they keep posting about the Olympics and how horrible it is and how ugly it is, and don't come to Paris if you see these, come back and see Paris when it's pretty. Here's the thing, and it's really weighing on my mind a lot lately, and it's really ticking me off. Paris is a city. Paris is a city. There's 2 million people that live here. People go to work. People have their lives. It is not Disneyland. While it might be the most visited city and country in the world, it is still a place where people live and work. And so it is not Disneyland. It is not supposed to be this perfectly curated version that everybody likes to create on Instagram. The expats that move here and pretend that it's this most idyllic, perfect place. And there is a lot of things about it that are perfect and idyllic. But it is also, again, it is a city. It is a place where people live. It has its warts. It has its bad things. There's rats. There's dog poo on the streets. But that's just what it is. And you tell me that a city like New York or any other big city doesn't have those problems? You're crazy. But nobody waxes on poetically about how perfect all those other places are. They just like to do that about Paris, and it is not real. It is not a real version of what this city is and who she is. It is their own version of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. My version would be just nothing but walks through history and views of historic places, and you know, I could walk down the street and run into Philippe or Eugène Delacroix. That's my perfect version of Paris. But it is just the amount of people lately that I see complaining about the Olympics and about the setup for the Olympics. But here's the thing, it happens. It's going to be a month and then it's going to be over. The Olympics itself is like 2 weeks. It is not the end of the world. The end of the world is actually coming most likely through our political landscape. But here is Paris, and this is what she is now. And then it'll go back. And so don't come here. If you want to only want to see it when it's beautiful, don't come now. But guess what? It's going to be something else. It's going to be protests. It's going to be strikes. It's going to be garbage strikes again. It's going to be something that's always happening here because it is a city, and it is a city that is thousands and thousands of years old. There's fires. There's things. It happens. So stop this pretend, phony version of Paris that everybody wants to portray. The groups and the people that think they own Paris, that they think this is their city, but they only are looking at the city as this perfect curated version of it, which there's nothing wrong with it. We would all love to have a perfect curated version of anything, but that's not reality. And so when it moves away from what you think is perfect in your reality, don't then just shit on it. Don't say that it's ugly. There are businesses here that are actually going to struggle during the Olympics. There's hotels that have no bookings because everybody said, don't come here, it's going to be horrible. So bookings for some private or tiny little boutique hotels, they have none. and this is their livelihood, and this is supposed to be the busiest time of the year in the summer, and it is. They're dying. They aren't making business. They aren't going to make any money. And it's really too bad. There's going to be restaurants that will be impacted because people said to stay away and don't come here, and it's ugly and it's too big of a mess. But don't say that. Just don't come. But also don't use your platform for this perfectly curated version of you strolling through the cherry blossoms or whatever else is you do. It is a wonderful place, but that's not the reality of what Paris actually is. That's just your own reality. So that's just my soapbox. It's been on my mind a lot lately. But here you can see this side. I love that the temporary offices, they've changed this out to this huge logo and image of Notre Dame and art there for the Olympics. When the opening ceremony comes down, it's going to come down on the north side of the river, so it won't come down this side. It's going to go down on the north side, which is a little wider, which is why they're doing that, hopefully, if we have the opening Olympics on the water. But it's kind of a shame because they won't see Notre Dame. Here's some of those hideous fences. Joking. Getting close. It's 9 o'clock now, so now it's getting closer to rush hour. I love that Paris is 8:30 in the morning. It's just still so quiet. And you know, in the States, it's like get to work at 8. I used to get to work at 6:30 in the morning, but people here, it's like 9 o'clock. They start heading in, but they also work a lot later. It's another big misconception of the French. So here's this side. Look, oh, they've covered the okay, let's go down a little. So they covered those fire stops with wood because when I was here the other day, when I made that short little video I posted, I guess maybe 2 weeks ago. So you can see there's the spire. So where that open, where you see the visible wood there, the fire stops are underneath that. So they've covered it up with wood. But look at all that scaffolding is off of there. We can see the roof. The open work there on the spire, that will be, they'll have to wait till after the whole roof is done, and then they will put that in. So the lead will come over, and then they still need to do the parts where they'll bring the statues back, but they're taking all the scaffolding down before the Olympics, and then after the Olympics, they'll put scaffolding back up there to finish all of that open work. And that, you know, as I said, that lead has been molded, created, out towards Normandy, and those they'll just come in and bring it in, but they have to wait till they get the other parts around it done before. They haven't added the clock in. My friend Mikel, who has an amazing camera that gets really great close-ups, he's waiting. Oh, look at those guys are coming out. Did you see that? The guys are coming out of that little... He's waiting for them to add the clocks back. There's 4 clocks on Notre Dame. One of them is there on the south tower on the other side of the south window. Or not tower, but on this other side. Oops. Wasn't looking. And of course we can see the cross back up there. The only piece that was back in May, when we did this last in May. It was right after they reinstalled the cross. The cross is the only thing that has survived through the fire. This is so much easier doing this early in the morning for you than doing it live on the middle of the afternoon, because there's just so many people. So this way we could really have all the time to zoom in. But let's go to the opening over here. They're supposed to be repainting all of these boxes. The owners are supposed to, but I'm not so sure what's happening. Look at those the little basket going up there. It's probably filled with, hopefully, some scaffolding that's coming down. I will come down here every few days until the Olympics. After the 17th or 18th, I can't come down here until after the opening ceremonies. This whole area is blocked off for security, so we can't come in here. Look at that. The south window, the Christ at the top, Saint Louis and Saint Marcel on the lower ones, just next to those peaks. And the spire with its over 140 florets on there. It's looking pretty good, but look at that roof. Look at that. All of those pieces that are on the top, the lead design, those are copies of the original. And when they did this, they actually created a mold. And so the mold is they poured the liquid lead into it. They had to do it quickly, and then it takes about 2 days to fully form. But they did it to silicone forms because the original ones added in the 19th century by Viollet-le-Duc, some were thicker, some were thinner. They were different. Some of them, the pieces of it, you can see in the museum. In the architecture museum, you can see a piece of it, and you can see from the side some of the thicker pieces survived the fire or broke off, and then some were just too thin, some were too thick. So they made this mold so they would all be consistent, and each one of those is individually added. So, and then there's a piece in between. So they basically have these spikes, and then they drop each one of those pieces down onto these kind of spikes that then lock it in. So they're not in pieces. And then you have the lead sheets up there, and they're all formed off-site. They kind of have a little lip on one side, and the other side is the inverted, and so they kind of lock in on the left and the right. And then they also have pieces of leather straps that's what they could nail into the roof. They put English paper underneath it, which you kind of could see there next to the white, to the right of the white part. The English paper, and it all makes it very waterproof. Oh, I just love her. I cannot wait to be back outside. I cannot wait. I already have a few people that are coming after the reopening that are already booking tours with me to go inside. So if you are coming, do that, because you all know how much I love the Louvre. But before I knew everything about the Louvre, well, I don't know everything about the Louvre. Before I knew what I know about the Louvre, I was obsessed with Notre Dame. And so I am a little frustrated because they're completely changing the chapels inside. What's in the chapels as far as the paintings on the walls and the statuary is staying the same, but they're changing the names of all of the chapels. They're changing the way it used to come in on the door on the far right, on the south door, which is the Portail de Anne, which is St. Anne, but now you're going to go to the center door, to the Judgment, and then come back out that door, the old entrance. So I have 5 books of information I fill with everything about Notre Dame, and one is just about the restoration. So every time I find a story or any information, I fill it in there. About 4 times a week, I check online in the French papers, see if there's anything I've missed, so I can keep it all up to date to share it with you guys. But I have one that's just about the interior that I started far before the fire, 2016. And now, but it's kind of fun. Now I'll get to go and update it all again, spend more and more time in there. Look, you can see, oh, look, that guy's taking down the scaffolding. Here comes something else up with the crane. Did you see? He was holding a huge piece of the scaffolding bar. Look at that. Let's zoom in here for you. So most of this window, as I've shared with you guys before, a lot of this window, about 60% of it's original to the 13th century. Viollet-le-Duc had to redo a few, about 40% of it, because some of it had been broken. And he also twisted it just a tiny bit. So because it's a Gothic church, every bit about a Gothic church, to make it look light and airy, to bring the light into the church, you had all these ways that they disperse the weight. So that's why we have the flying buttresses. But even the stone that's in there in the rose window helps to hold up the walls. but they will, after it reopens, there'll still be a lot of work to do. They have work to do on the flying buttresses. A lot of the work on the outside will then occur. I could just come sit here on that bleachers all day long and just watch. Maybe I'll do that one day. I don't really ever have that much time, but it would be kind of fun to sit here for like 6 hours and just watch it. Oh, I love her so much. But so exciting, it's so exciting. So I'll just walk us over here to the bridge. Oh, and then I'll pop into this little garden for you. I don't want to be in here. But we will another day. I'll go down, I'll head down into the special little added museum that they did. The experience. There is the virtual reality you could do, which I have not done. I did one of those one time and it made me dizzy. So, but I have had friends, and I even have a very good friend that usually really poo-poos and hates those things, and he did that one, and he did the one to Orsay, and he cannot stop talking about it. So if it changed his mind. But they also have a really great little exhibit set up in there, and some of it duplicates what you find at the Architecture Museum, but it has pieces of, from the wood from the rafters and the stone and the piece of the stone that was in the keystone of the angel, one of the angels. And so that is in there, and I'll have to go down there and make a video. I wanted to do it before, but there's no signal, so we couldn't do it live, but we could do it this way. So I'll do that very soon for you too, in case you have missed it. But again, if you missed last Sunday's with a visit to the paintings that will soon go back in here, all of that stuff's going to be done in the fall. So in about September and October is when they're going to start adding back the furniture and putting all of that in there. Oh, what's in there? Wood. But there's something on top of it. Was it one of our guys with holding the walkie-talkie? Maybe he's in one of these. I don't think people call them walkie-talkies anymore, do they? Radios. But come on, walkie-talkies. More fun. All right, it's so cool today in Paris. It's been amazing. We had hot days last week, and then you can almost wear a sweater, a light sweater. All right, guys, I am going to head across the street and show you these pieces that used to be here. The water's still a little high because we've had a lot of rain. The water's still a little high. Also, they say that the Seine, they've tested it recently, is still bad. So, again, nobody thought swimming in the Seine was a good idea except for the mayor of Paris. Nobody. And she was supposed to dive in there on June 13th, and then they canceled that because it was pretty gross. And then she was going to do it at the end of June, and they canceled that. So we'll see. But I'm going to hop over there, and I'll see you in a second. All right, I'm going to leave you today in this this is the Square René Viviani. He was a lawyer and a politician. He died in 1925. But one thing he did is that he helped to create the law that would allow women to become lawyers. And it is a really pretty little square because this is to children killed in World War II, Jewish children. Really beautiful sculpture, all in bronze. But I just saw, and I just made a little video of it really quick. I'll have on my Instagram. But there was a guy, a worker up there doing his pull-ups on the scaffolding. Look at how beautiful the flowers are. But what's really amazing is in this little park are pieces that were once in Notre Dame. So these are pieces that went going back as far as could be the 13th century. And they were removed under Viollet-le-Duc in the 19th century so they could restore it. So hopefully we'll have pieces taken down now that we will find in gardens or the museum or around in Paris. But I love that those are here and you could just look up. So it's that living history you could walk around and see here. So you go from the 12th and 13th century up there and see what's being added in the 21st century on that roof. Pretty great. Also in this park, it's the oldest living thing in Paris, this tree added under Henry IV in the 16th century. I mean, it's living is, you know, it still is green and it still lives, but it's a lot of love they give it. They've created what you see in Ivy is these huge cement, basically braces that hold the tree up. It was hit in World War I and World War II, but it's looking pretty good now. But just think of that across the way. She's older, but this tree, oldest living thing. How about that? And there's probably some rats that are this old here. Here's some more pieces. And in this, behind this church, Saint Julien de Paris, there is a piece of the old Roman road. So you've got a lot of really old things right here. You got a lot of old things in Paris, but you have a lot of really old things just right here in the shadows of Our Dear Lady. So hopefully you enjoyed this and you learned a little something, a little more about Notre Dame and where she is. And I cannot wait to get back in there. 5 months from tomorrow, I will be there and I will share some of that with you on that day if you're not here. So I cannot wait. And so thank you guys all so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, if it was a holiday weekend there, and I hope to see you soon. But check out the podcast tomorrow so you'll learn more about the paintings of Notre Dame and the restoration process just in general when it comes to painting. It's pretty actually fantastic. I love that stuff. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you soon.